Hey, what's up, guys? Little man with a big opinion here. Today, I'm going to talk about comfort items that you should add to your preps. Uh, Biggest thing, like I said, they're comfort items. They're probably also items that other people, if they're new to prepping, they're not high on their priority list. But if you've established a pretty solid food storage, or you have the means to continually restock that food storage, then maybe you should start thinking about some of these comfort items. Um, they are fantastic for bartering. They are uh, great to keep the morale up. Uh, any post apocalyptic show I've ever seen, most of the people tend to get excited uh, if they find any of these comfort items. And so, just my thoughts. Um, Obviously, this isn't a purely perfect list. So, in the comments down below, add what you think should go onto this list as well. Maybe you have a different idea of comfort items. Uh, and then, if you thought my list was okay, like the video. If you like what I'm doing with the channel, then subscribe. Uh, didn't do any videos over the weekend. I went camping with my Boy Scout troop, and they had a good time. It was below freezing. We got a little bit of snow, so that's always fun. But let's jump into the video. Intro's getting a little long. Uh, the very first item that I would store away that most people probably uh, aren't thinking about is toilet paper, baby wipes, uh, the excess cloth that you plan on cleaning when you inevitably run out of toilet paper. Uh, Most of us take for granted pulling over at a gas station on road trips, going in and using the bathroom. You know, growing up in your house, you can only probably remember telling your parents we need to go get toilet paper. Um, in today's society, we probably can't remember a time when we didn't have toilet paper. Um, I consider toilet paper white gold when it comes to prepping because hygiene is important. I don't know anyone that goes to the bathroom and doesn't clean their behind. So that's an item that I would, add to the list after you've got your food, water, and security secured. Next thing is sweets. And it's not just storing away sugar, but sugar is a big part of it because if you've got sugar, if you got access to eggs and some sort of uh, wheat, then you're able to make cookies, cakes, all of these other different things. Um, Now you need other ingredients, like cinnamon and chocolate and whatever other flavors you want to make. But for the most part, you can make basic sweets. But what I'm also talking about is hard candies. They have an extremely long shelf life. Uh, so like your candy canes, your mints, uh, gobstoppers, which I think are jawbreakers. Uh, but your hard candies will last a pretty decent amount of time. And if you can get, chocolate that is mostly cocoa, it also has a pretty extensive shelf life. And those are more comforty towards younger people, specifically kids, because they enjoy that kind of stuff. And in a bad in a bad situation, being able to, you know, cheer up a kid is a pretty good thing. Uh, you could also barter it with adults, because some people uh, would trade more than a chocolate bar is worth to have that sweet dopamine filling uh, brief moment. I don't know what its going price is. I guess it just depends on how many pieces of chocolate are left, who's able to make it, and how badly they want it. But that goes with everything on this list. Because the next thing I have on the list, and it can be somewhat controversial, is booze. I specifically mean liquors because they'll last forever. As long as they're stored properly. They also can, help clean wounds and disinfect stuff. Uh, but you buy liquor, if you don't drink it, your kids could drink it, your grandkids could drink it, your great grandkids could drink it. They're selling bottles of wine and liquor that were bottled in the 40s and the 30s. And it's stupid expensive because there's not many left, because most people typically drank it within the few years after it was bottled. But some people do that kind of stuff. Uh, Now, if you're more of a wine, or which wine is kind of similar to uh, the liquors, but if you're more of a beer person, then uh, having the stored, barley, wheat, that sort of thing, to be able to replicate it is important. Uh, so yeast, barley, water. You got to have a couple of gauges to make sure uh, you hit your specific alcohol percentages. And I've only ever made beer with a kit, and it didn't taste very good at all. But if that's your thing, then storing the ingredients to make it is probably important. One of the easier things to make is wines and ciders. Uh, so that's another thing to remember if you're planting fruit trees. You're not only getting, a good, you know, fruit out of it that you can consume, but if you have excess, then it goes into this comfort category. Uh, Same thing can be said about tobacco products. Same thing could be said about your other drugs that in some places are legal, in some places it's not. Um, Me personally, I don't care for the spicy tobacco, or whatever you want to call it these days. But there's a lot of people that do. Some people, do take it for um, medicinal purposes. So, having a supply of it, having the means to reproduce it, uh, having it for a trade item, because a couple minutes of being able to, I say a couple minutes, being able to wind down out of that situation could be important. Uh, and then I did a video the other day about spices. I think spices are a comfort item. They last darn near forever, and they'll take your same bland rice and beans that you eat, for 6 months, because that's the only thing you stored away. And it adds so much variety. You can season them as many different ways as you want to, and you'll get a different taste out of it every time. Uh, so if you add those to your preps, it's enriching yourself. At one point in life, or at one point in time, it was currency, specifically salt. Uh, and so having excesses of spices is not a bad thing. Adding it to your, rotating pantry will be a lot easier than the canned goods and the pastas and all that other stuff, because it takes you a lot longer to go through, a 2 pound thing of salt. than you realize versus, a box of pasta every other night for your different meals. Uh, Other comfort items could be entertainment, any type of game that doesn't require electricity. Uh, it could be books. It could also be writing material for taking notes, for drawing. Uh, but I did mention electricity. And the longer it takes for something to happen, if something's going to happen, the more people are going to have access to solar panels, wind turbines, things like that. And so your comfort item could be, those small battery bank storages that just have the USB ports on it. It could be fancier, like the smaller Jackery or the Gold Zero, stuff like that. Uh, because me personally, I've got an old computer that basically only works if you keep it plugged in. And I've downloaded as many movies as that thing can fit. Um, my end goal, which I also have a external SSD that has a bunch of that stuff on it too. Uh, if I can keep that computer charged, then I'm watching movies that way. Uh, it uses a lot less electricity than other things do, and until it craps out, that's my backup storage. But being able to produce excess power, these people might come to you with devices that need charged. Um, and that's a comfort. I don't know anyone that walks out the door these days and forgets their cell phone. I don't know people that, really aren't checking it 40, 50 times a day. Uh, Unless you're, you know, older. If you're the group that didn't have a cell phone, they just didn't exist, you might use it a little less than others. But the point is, I think electricity will be a massive comfort item. And I would put panels over, certain preps. Not only is it, good for the environment and you're saving yourself money in the long run, but I think a lot of the United States is in for a rude awakening if power just disappeared tomorrow. Um, I don't think we have enough of the population that is self sufficient in that regard uh, to ease us into anything that would happen. So I think it'd get, you know, ugly before it got better. If you had some people that, if you had a larger percentage of the population, uh, I think there'd be a lot more ability to bounce back from a situation like that. Uh, but that's also my, opinion on that. But that being said, that's what I put down for my comfort items: toilet paper, booze, tobacco, drugs, uh, games, entertainment, and electricity. So I guess I could title this 6 comfort items you could prep. Uh, Candy or sweets, so 7. Uh, I'd put, candy, sweets, toilet paper on the lower end of it, so you could start prepping it now because it's not breaking the bank, and the massive end of it is obviously electricity, and that's a pretty big investment. It's like buying a car for how many panels at least I would need for our house. Uh, and it's slowly changing as we're updating the house and putting in more energy efficient appliances. Uh, but that's what I got for you. Like I said, what comfort items would you add in the comment section down below? Let me hear it. Like the video, subscribe, and hit the little bell because you never know when I'll release a video. Catch you in the next one.